This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Hey, yeah, let's see how you do under pressure. Oh, yeah, I've been wanting this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey, yeah, ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another video episode podcast. Talk about our favorite team, the Arizona Cardinals. We are currently right now 5 days away from the preseason start versus the New Orleans Saints, and training camp's been very, very good. Super excited about what's going on with the Arizona Cardinals in 2024, and of course, we got somebody here, an insider of the Arizona Cardinals, to kind of chop it up and talk everything Arizona Cardinals training camp, what he's seen, and what he's excited about here at the end of the day. So huge shout out to the people that are currently in the chat. We got K1, we got Adrian, we got username Classy. See you up in there. Appreciate y'all for coming in here. And definitely huge shout out here to the sponsor of the video. BetUS is sponsoring the Arizona sports fan here through the entirety of the NFL football season. Shout out to BetUS. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let me go and bring in Tyler Drake of Arizona Sports. Man, what is going on? How are you doing?
What's going on? Glad to be back. Yeah, like you said, we are very close to preseason football, which I know it's preseason, but it's football, so it's going to be great. Can't wait.
Absolutely. Well, we've talked before, maybe about a few months back, about the Arizona Cardinals, and I think we could both say that we're both football junkies, and any chance we can see some football on the field is very, very exciting. Are you as excited as preseason as I am? I'm usually not excited about preseason, but are you?
I think just the fact that it signals that football's back. I think I know training camp kind of is that first little notch in the belt, but I feel like now we're past the Hall of Fame game. Now we're into the brunt of getting into preseason games. So obviously, yeah, just seeing the talent and seeing how everybody's kind of come together this training camp. Very interested to see that. And I'm very interested to see who's just going to play and who's not, because that's very much still up in the air. So we will see with that. But yeah, definitely excited just to see some competition against other teams and not just the Cardinals versus the Cardinals, for sure.
True. All right, well, let's get started here. I know you've been in every single training camp. Obviously, it's your job to cover the Arizona Cardinals. I've been to a lot more than not training camp, so I've kind of seen some things with my own eyes as well, but I want to kind of get your take on what you've seen in training camp so far. I want to kind of first start off here with some underrated standouts, right? And I think not talking about Marvin, we're talking about the guys that are on the roster that you feel like is going to make a name for themselves this year, or just kind of stood out in training camp so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts right away with two guys that come to mind, actually three guys, all wide receiver room: Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Zay Jones. I think they've all, for Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch, they look like they have taken the offseason really seriously. Look like they've taken that next step. Obviously, Dortch has been around, but it just looks like he's kind of ready for this slot man, kind of, how Rondell Moore was used last year. It seems like that's very much going to be the same thing. So looks like he's bulked up a little bit. Looks like he's faster. Looks like he's got some more quick twitch to his game. But then Michael Wilson just putting together a really consistent camp right now. I haven't really seen any bad things to say about the guy. He's caught everything that's come his way. He had a really big catch a couple practices ago that really was kind of his highlight, I'd say, so far. And then, Zay Jones, he's been a veteran who has really came to play this this training camp, really consistent every single time. There was 2 or 3 days where it looked like everything that was in his vicinity he was catching. So they've got a lot of options in that wide receivers room now that, frankly, they didn't really have these past couple of years. And obviously, Greg Dortch, I think, just needed a chance. He had to get up the depth chart. But everybody that they've got in this wide receivers room, I think it could rival one of the better, at least, wide receivers room that Kyler's had since he came to town. And obviously that includes the Fitz years and all of that. But I think just in general, there's a lot more talent across the board for this wide receivers room that could really take this team to the next level. And then I think another guy would be in the running backs room, Amari Demercado. I think everybody thought running back 2 was going to be between Michael Carter and Trey Benson. But that's honestly, Amari Demercado is getting first team reps every single practice. I mean, he's in there on third down. He seems like he's their guy for pass protection. I actually asked Jonathan Gannon about his role, about the the growth that he's seen, and he actually said he was pudgy in February, and he gave him a little bit of gave him that word actually, and that was kind of his motivation to really hit the gym hard. He was coming off a vacation from Hawaii, so I'm going to give him a break there, but definitely came back. Gannon loves what he's seeing. He's rocked up, he said. And yeah, man, pass pro is kind of his thing. That's his bread and butter. That's why he made a name for himself last year, and that's a reason why he's getting in these first team reps right now. So seeing how that all shakes out, obviously Michael Carter and Trey Benson, they're getting second and third team reps, and we'll see if that kind of changes these last couple days of camp. But for now, it looks like it's Amari's job to lose, and that's really impressive for an undrafted guy like that to come up. And speaking of undrafted, I'll give you another one, Starling Thomas the fifth. Like he's very much in that conversation to maybe if he doesn't start, he's going to at least have a very meaningful role in that cornerback rotation. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Garrett Williams, they have, I think, solidified their roles as starters. Max Melton, I think, is very much there too. He's another standout as well. He's gotten a lot of first-team reps. But, yeah, Starling Thomas, man, he's going to be a name to watch because he's checking all the boxes. They love how he approaches the game from a practice standpoint, his mentality. So, yeah, look out for him. And then let's go defensive line, I would say. Darius Robinson's obviously just a huge dude, and he looks like he's getting it at multiple spots along the line. So that's a big plus there. And sadly, like I've got to throw this guy's name out there. BJ Ojulari was a standout for sure. He was. He really was doing his thing. He looked a lot different, noticeably different. Looked like he bulked up, but he was quicker. Everybody that I talked to, whether coaches, teammates, just raved about the trajectory that he's on. So it's just a brutal development with what happened to him. I know we'll talk about that in a little bit, but he was right up there too as a top a top guy that I was looking at as a standout. Let's see, one more. Left guard, John Gaines, because John Gaines has really come back from this season-ending knee injury, which was reported as a torn ACL, but we won't get that official saying. But, he very much could have a big role just along the interior of the line, left guard, right guard, center, depending on what happens. And obviously, we all saw that Yelda went down, so Evan Brown moved over from left guard, but they gave Isaiah Adams a couple of first-team reps, but then they right away threw John Gaines in there. I think he was still coming back, still a little limited, but now he's playing left guard, right guard, center. He's gotten first-team reps at left guard, second-team reps at center and right guard. So a lot of good things there. They really love what he's all about, and I think the big thing is just he's healthy and he's in there smiling again, and I think Gannon really kind of appreciates that mentality coming from a guy who, I mean, last year he was in the running to be a meaningful piece of that line, and now coming back, he was another guy similar to an Amari. Like, there was Evan Brown, obviously he's the front runner to be that starting left guard, but beyond that, he's going to be that guy who's going to very much get a lot of reps, depending on injury and just depending on performance, really, too.
It's crazy to see just year two into Monty Austin Fortin already talking about, we're confident. We're not confident, but we're comfortable with the idea of having these guys, right? Like your John Gaines or even the rookie as well. So it's cool. It's really cool to kind of see that, once one guy goes down, the confidence level is there. Let me ask you a couple different things. Keytrell Clark, what's happened? I haven't seen him practice for a bit. I think it was last Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Street clothes. I'm not sure. I haven't gone to the one on Saturday, but I don't think he practiced that day either. Is it just kind of one of those things that there's an injury that we're not really hearing about?
Yeah, so Gannon did say some players were dealing some nicks and bumps and bruises, so I would assume he's probably in that window. I know Naquan Jones was in there. A couple other guys got thrown in there. And Max Melton on Saturday was another guy who wasn't dressed, but he was out there signing autographs and everything. Keytrell was out there watching. Buda Baker had a day where he was in street clothes, but I think it's more so just about, hey, they might be nicked up a little bit. Let's not push the narrative or push the notion of let's get you back on the field. They've been really big on health and nutrition, so giving some guys a little bit more time to bounce back from the little injuries, I think, is helping them prolong things or avoid maybe a potentially worse thing happening down the line. So definitely I think it's more on that. I don't think it's anything crazily serious, but also Keytrell's got some competition in that room. He's really got some competition in that room. That quarterback's room is revamped, and there's a lot of guys that look like they could very much take a spot right now.
It's exciting, man. It's really exciting to see. I know there's a lot of unknown and question marks around the cornerback room, but I think there's a lot of excitement with Garrett Williams and Sean Murphy-Bunting and potentially seeing Max Melton here and there. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. Let's move on over to the rookies real quick. I know you kind of touched on a few. If you can give me like one rookie that really stood out, and if you want to use Marvin Harrison Jr., by all means, what is that one rookie that stood out to you, man? You're like, oh man, this guy is going to be legit.
Yeah, I mean it's the easy answer, but it's got to be Marvin, man. Like it's pretty smooth out there, and obviously it's training camp. You got to take everything with a grain of salt there, but the way he's come in and attacked, and the way that Kyler just looks his way more times than not, I think that tells you right there that this guy's getting it. I think the coaching staff loves him. I think they love his mentality. They love how he works. Like, there's really, I don't see a box that he hasn't checked right now. And that's, I mean, obviously for a rookie, that's pretty big. I think everybody assumed that with just the caliber of player, caliber of person that Marvin is and what we've all been told about. But he's really, I mean, he said that he felt NFL training camp has been easier than college camp. And I think when you first hear that, it's like, what? But also, I think that's another shout out to Gannon and the tweets of the schedule to help with the health and nutrition of the guys. But yeah, it seems like he's loving it. It seems like he's having a lot of fun. He very much wants to play in the preseason and said that college should have preseason games to better themselves at the next level. He would love to do it. So that was actually pretty funny. But yeah, I just, there's nothing really bad I can say about the guy. And that's, for a rookie, is pretty wild. And obviously highlights have been mostly him, but it's because he's getting the ball so much. So I think the rapport with him and Kyler is just going to continue to grow. I think his knowledge of the offense is going to continue to grow. And I think he's very much taking things day by day. And I think that's just how they want him to do it right now. And yeah, nothing really to report on the negative side of what he brings to the table.
It's crazy to see such a rookie kind of talk with such a, I don't know, team first mentality and not being all about, just himself. It's obviously coming in here and it's all kind of molded with the same type of person that Monty's bringing in. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see it. All right. Let's move on over here to let's first jump into Zaven Collins, and then we'll talk about the BJ Ojulari news, which obviously the breaking news ended up happening, and I think it was this last Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. But Zaven Collins, the fifth-year option was declined, but breaking news came out that we are actually extending him for a contract. I did jump here and there into like the presser on YouTube for him. What are your thoughts on just, I guess, bringing him coming in and just, I guess, his excitement level of being at the Cardinals for, the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a move that a lot of people were kind of, I don't want to say like bittersweet on, but I think we're could go either way just because of what he's produced as a pass rusher. But from everything that the coaching staff says, from everything the players say, I mean, BJ Ojulari said he was one of the main guys that really helped his game in the offseason. And obviously in reverse, BJ was helping him out with, further pass rushing moves, because I would say, as everybody has thought, BJ is probably the most complete pass rusher on the team. But Zaven, man, like, he wanted to be here, and I think that was a big thing. Like, he didn't want people to beat around the bush with him. He didn't want Monty to kind of not tell him what was going on, and he got that respect. He got that straight upness, and I think he wanted to stick around just because of that. And the culture that this team's building was huge in his decision to want to stick around and not test free agency. From just a player and production standpoint, yeah, you need to see more from him, but he's also doing a lot more than just being a pass rusher. He's also working out in coverage a lot. He's doing a lot of other things that maybe a typical pass rusher isn't doing at this point. For the contract, I mean, it's about like $7 a year. That's a pretty good, that's fine. For what he brings to the table, the leadership and everything else, that's great. I mean, his fifth-year option was 13 point something. So that just for 1 year. I mean, they basically got him for 2 years for the price of one. And a homegrown guy, just from coming in a couple years ago, I think it was a good move just to keep the continuity of what they want to do. And obviously, yeah, you want to see more production from that role. But I will say, it looks like he's solidified himself as a starter just from what we've seen at training camp and everything else. So, in my opinion, I think it was a good signing, a good extension. Get it done, avoid any kind of drama down the line, and just keep moving. And I think that's exactly how Zaven feels about it too.
Perfect. That's good to know that obviously the respect between what he won and the GM, obviously kind of acknowledging the wishes. Not beating around the bush definitely is not good. We've seen it around the NFL, man. We're seeing a lot of things that are kind of having players holding out for specific reasons on their own. But it's really cool to finally see that we're not that drama team anymore. We're just
Yep.
focusing on football. That's the most important thing. Winning games is exactly what is the most important thing here at the end of the day. Let's talk about BJ Ojulari. Definitely very unfortunate news that actually came down because he was seen to be the guy that, I'm not going to lie to you, is a second-year player. I was really excited to watch, especially because of how unknown that edge position is for the Cardinals. I was like, one of those guys who are like, he's going to take a big jump. This is going to be such a good thing for him. And unfortunately, he went down and he's out for the season. I did hear Jonathan Gannon and what he said about, kind of like the next man up, but obviously there is a sense of, it sucks, man. It sucks because everybody was really excited about him. Tell me what your thoughts are about, I guess, how they're going to fill this role up with BJ Ojulari's absence. Do you think they're going to go in-house? Actually, let's just stay in-house first, and then we'll talk about potential guys later. But let's talk in-house. What do you think they're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dennis Gardeck slides in as that known commodity starter there alongside Zaven, and then I think you just got to roll from there. I think Victor Dimukeje could very much be in that rotation early on too. Another guy that I would look at is potentially Jesse Luketa. We got to see how he is as a fullback though too. They did like to use him a little bit there. Xavier Thomas, that's kind of a dark horse for me right now. Just rookie guy. Can he get up to speed quicker? How much they really like him in that role right now, but I would say, if I'm looking at starters, I'm looking at Gardeck and Zaven moving into that first week of the regular season. And obviously obviously I think BJ was probably the best pass rusher heading into the year. I will say that for the Cardinals. But I think Gardeck is showing that he still very well can put pressure on the quarterback. I think Zaven's taking that next step. So we'll have to see how everything gels once the bullets become live. But for what's going on right now, I don't see a massive, huge, oh man, end of the world's happening, because they still got a little bit of depth there. But they are going to have to figure out, can Victor take that next step? Obviously, he had 4 sacks last year, so I think he's on that upward trajectory. Can he take that next step? And then you've got Jesse, and then Cameron Thomas is in there too. And I'd have to see a little bit more from Cameron Thomas. But I think for right now, I'm looking at Gardeck, Zaven, and then Victor is kind of that 6-man role.
You think they're going to be doing like a swing kind of by committee type of thing, where they kind of did it last year a little bit, where they kind of moved people in and out in that role? I don't feel like we've ever had, like, short of Chandler Jones, right, a while back, we didn't have a dominant guy in the outside edge that we can say, man, this guy's going to wreak havoc on that opposing quarterback. Do you think we're going to do something like that as well, where they're going to be seeing maybe I think Zaven might take the bulk of the reps, but the other side, do you think it's going to be Gardeck, maybe Dimukeje, like kind of swinging, or do you think it's going to be one primary guy with the eventual swinging?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be they love rotation. That's one of their biggest things. That's how they keep guys, being able to play a full game. They can rotate in and out. So I think across the board with that whole room, I think rotation is going to be huge. I think, like you said, I think Zaven's going to get more snaps at the end of the day, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a drop off from the rest of the guys. I think they're all going to want to be in that 50%, 70% range, I would say, of playing snaps, and then you kind of move on from there. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm envisioning it, maybe 45, but right around that. They love the rotation. They love keeping guys fresh. And yes, that takes away from some of the stats at the end of the day. That's why you can't really look, I think, especially with Zaven, you can't really look at the stats of everything in this contract extension. You've got to look at the other things he's doing for the team, the stuff that's not going to show up on the stat line. So I would say it's going to definitely be a rotation for sure.
Okay. All right. Now let's move over to the questions. I see already people, some comments in the on the comments here about potential trades, potential picking up free agents. We've heard Jonathan Gannon say everything's on the table, but he also did emphasize the fact that people need to step up in this locker room. The Cardinals still have some cash in terms of cap space. Right now, it's just guessing, right? We don't really know what's going on in the mind of Monty Ossenfort. Is there anything that, like, he's going to address the media anytime soon that this question can be addressed? Or how does that even work with the whole media? Like, does Monty even talk, like, during this time, or is it, like, a certain time?
Yeah, so he actually talked a couple days ago, I want to say, and it's all running together for me, but he did recently talk with us, so I'm not sure when the next time he will talk. It's usually kind of a once in a while type deal, which is not anything crazy or anything out of the normal or out of the ordinary. But yeah, I don't think it's really going to probably get addressed on that side of things. I think we'll probably see something happen if it does before we talk to him. But for me, I think let's look at the free agency pool right now. I know there's some guys out there, but there's a reason why free agents are out there right now. Because there's either a performance issue, maybe a health issue, getting paid. They want to get paid more than they probably should. So on that side of things, I'd be very surprised if they went out and got this big name free agent. Because I mean, I just don't really see a ton out there that would do more harm than good, I guess. I think maybe getting some more depth there at that position, get another body in there to fill that. Once BJ goes to IR, get another pass rusher in there. But I really do think it's going to be in-house first, and then I would say the other options would be looking at a potential trade, and obviously there's some names out there, but that's also just kind of throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks. So I don't really want to go down the route of giving names for trades, but that's very much on the table. I think that would happen before going out there and trying to sign some dude right now in free agency. But the other thing I would say is look at the 53-man cut down day, because a lot of people are going to get cut there. There's going to be a lot more talent kind of looking for a new home. So you got to get up to speed quicker, but there's going to be an influx of guys looking for a new place to play, and that could be the avenue that they potentially go for it. So yeah, right now in free agency, if they get somebody, it might be a stopgap guy that just adds more depth for the rest of camp, rest of preseason. But heading into cut down day, I think that's the best bet, that they bring in somebody that could be on the team for the rest of the season.
Gotcha. So somebody that's already kind of been through somebody else's training camp, but it's obviously in shape and was cut for.
Yeah.
Because we have seen people get cut like that are good players that work
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even think of that as well. Okay. Yeah. No, that's true. I mean,
Yeah, that's just the thing. It's like if there's a free agent right now that they'd like, they would have already got it. That's where I'm at right now. And obviously BJ throws some wrenches in that plan, but I still think just the pool right now is very shallow. Wait till that cut down day and then kind of reevaluate. And like you said, like get somebody that's been up to speed with somebody else that's been there and has been on another team and been athletic enough to where they can make that transition and really just have to get in the playbook.
It's fair. I'm not gonna lie. There's a couple that are out there that I would like. Yannick Ngakoue would be cool.
Yep. That name's right up there. Yep.
Yeah, he's been floating around, but I do agree in the sense of, I don't know, just kind of the way that the Cardinals have been doing things. It almost kind of seems like it won't happen, but obviously I would be up in arms and open to anything at this point, because this BJ Ojulari news, it's very unfortunate for multiple different reasons. That the edge is very unknown, and the fact that everybody was so excited to see him this year, and it's just definitely very, very unfortunate. Okay, so let me ask you this. I know Jonathan Gannon, you might know a little bit more. Obviously, you got a little bit more insight here in the Cardinals organization, but the starters, are they going to play in preseason? Or actually, let's first start off with the Saints. I know Jonathan Gannon, last time I heard him, he said that it's kind of up in the air right now. What are your thoughts about just week one of preseason versus the Saints? Do you think we will see some starters playing week one?
I could maybe see a sprinkling of guys. I don't think we're going to see the full-blown first-team offense, first-team defense. I could see maybe getting some rookies, some looks early on, like the Darius Robinsons of the world, maybe the Marvins of the world. But I think for me, I'm kind of looking at week two. I think that would be the one that's going to be more of, let's get kind of a dress rehearsal down. That's kind of typically when it happens. So that is one that I'll be looking at more. I think for this first week, I'll be looking to see, hey, do guys like Amari DeMercado continue to flash? Darius Robinson, like I said, if he plays, does he take that next step against other competition? Max Melton plays. What do we see out of him? I'm not sold that Marvin gets that first week. Maybe I'm wrong. Kyler Murray, same way. I just don't see it happening in week one. I think it's very much more of a week two, get a series in, call it good, before you move on to week three and kind of get everybody else a chance. But, but again, I could be completely wrong, but that's just my personal thinking, is just maybe a couple of starters sprinkled in there, guys that they want to see. Maybe John Gaines gets a lot of reps. But outside of that, I would say look to week two for more of the starters getting those looks, for sure.
I mean, it would make sense. I mean, they do have a joint practice with the Colts as well, which I believe Jonathan Gannon ended up addressing. So that does make sense that if they do potentially do something like that. Okay. I mean, I would love to see the starters.
I will be out there at the joint practice, so that'll be a good time.
You're going to be going to the joint practice?
Yep.
Nice. Man.
So we'll be doing that. We'll be covering the game out there, and then we'll be back Sunday.
That's exciting. That's cool.
Yeah.
What happens in that scenario? I mean, when you do get moved off over there, I mean, do you go with like in the locker room for like the post games as well? Like, how does that work in terms of like your media credentials to do stuff like that? Like,
just after the games, they'll usually just come out. They'll bring a couple guys out, and I think that's been basically the protocol. When I did the playoff game against the Rams, and they just brought out a couple guys after the game and kind of called it good there. So Yeah, not as I don't think it's as quite as much access as home games, but still, we're still talking to guys. It's
Yeah, no, that's
no
still
no
cool.
problem. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Get some highlights from Marvin Harrison Jr. catching a pass from a
right,
different. Yeah,
right.
that's awesome. Heck yeah. Okay. Well, that's really exciting. I really do hope that we do see him. And like I said, it's nothing. I'm not even talking about a quarter. I'm talking about like a series or two, right? Like a drive or two,
Right.
something
Yeah.
like that would be really ideal. Because that will get people excited about the regular season open up. So, yeah, I'm stoked about it. Just because I see it in the chat here. What are your thoughts of Hassan Reddick? And I'm pretty sure you heard the name already. Potentially, like rejoining the Cardinals. Do you think it's like far fetched?
I'm not. I wouldn't rule out
Yeah.
anything at all. It's the NFL. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, Reddick's got that connection with Philly, and Gannon's got the connection with Philly. Rollis has
Yeah.
that connection with Philly. There's connections there. Obviously, Reddick being a former Cardinal, it's just I don't know how much the bridges were burned there.
It's fair.
Maybe they weren't at all. I mean, obviously a different regime, but yeah, that's obviously a very intriguing name. It would be very interesting to see him come back. It would be really fun to kind of see that all happen again. But I just don't think it's gonna happen. And that maybe I just jinxed it and it's gonna happen now. And if that's the case, then you guys are welcome.
That's how I feel when I put some gambling bets. Everything opposite of what I think that happens. That's exactly what happens to me. Okay, one last thing, and I'll let you go. Well, I guess your thoughts on this. Honestly, I'm excited about preseason for the simple reason of just the rookies that we brought in. One of the guys that I'm really excited to see, and I think he probably will get a good amount of work in, is Trey Benson. Trey Benson to me is a really, really exciting piece that we brought in from the draft. I don't know if you feel the same way, but when he's running with the twos or the threes, or I've seen him also punt returning as well, do you feel the same way that like he's always having the ball in his hand, or he's always got some sort of reps, not so much designed for him, but he's always kind of there? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah. He's the thing with him. He's just got to get through that second, third team rotation right now because, like I said, it's Connor, Amari DeMercado, Michael Carter with the second team, and then Trey Benson moving in after that with second, third team. Obviously, he's coming up a little bit after this on Saturday. He did some more second team, but yeah, it does seem like they really do want to give him the ball. And with special teams work, I think that's just more of Jeff Rogers trying to see what guys can and can't do with these
Fair.
rookies, with these guys that are new guys on the team. But yeah, I very much am expecting Benson to be in that conversation for RB2, or at least just have a role in that offense because he's got a lot of game. He can be that heavy hitter and he can hit those home run hits. So I'm very interested to see how everything shakes out with that on the depth chart, especially going into the preseason games. He could really separate himself there. I do think he needs to just be able to do more than just be a skill player, though. He's got to be able to go in there and pass pro. Like, that's going to be a big part. Like we saw with Amari last year. That's how he got on the field. So if Trey can do that, it's just going to open the door for him to get more reps and potentially more carries after that point.
Yeah, I know I was doing some deep dive into his college days, and that was definitely one of the weaknesses is the pass pro for him. So if you can definitely, I agree with you there. There needs to be more than just running the ball. You have a lot more assignments back there. I know we're kind of running out on time. I think another name to look out for as well is Xavier Weaver.
Yeah,
I'm excited about preseason because I know we're gonna see a little bit of him, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and they're going to give him every opportunity. I think both as a return man, and I think they're going to give him a lot of looks and with the offense too. So definitely watch him. He's been making some really good grabs. He's definitely starting to get a lot of people's attention, and so you put together a good preseason, you can really make a name and really make a case for trying to secure a 53-man roster spot or at least a practice squad spot.
Oh, I'm so excited. This preseason, there's just a lot to kind of look into, a lot to dive into. But Tyler, I appreciate you for chiming in as well. I'm going to let you go. Have a great rest of your day, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And be sure to look for Cardinals Corner this week. We got a little hint. We got some balance coming to the podcast, so definitely take a listen there.
Hell yeah. Appreciate you, Tyler. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Later.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. That was Tyler Drake with Arizona Sports. Also runs his podcast, Cardinals Corner, as well. Make sure you check that out. We're going to go ahead and take a real quick break here from the sponsors of the video, BetUS, and then we're going to continue on answering questions in the chat. So definitely stay tuned. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
Huge shout out here to BetUS, a sponsor of the Arizona Sports Fan here. They do got a lot of great things to offer. The link is in the description below, but 125% sign up bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. They got the fastest payout in the industry. They definitely do a very good thing over there. So definitely shout out to BetUS if you are interested, and if you're a gambling man or woman, that is the place to go. Link is in the description below. But let's go ahead and just jump right into some comments here. A lot of great things to talk about here. And definitely, again, huge shout out here to Tyler Drake of Arizona Sports / Cardinals Corner. If you haven't checked out that podcast, please do so. But yeah, we're going to talk a lot. We're going to read through the comments. So if you have any questions, please do so. We'll dissect everything that's currently going on. Let's take a look here. We got my guy Han Shot here in the chat. Let's go ahead and bring him up. He says Hassan has $14.2 million cap hit this year. If the Cardinals trade for him and extend him, he will command $20 million a year. I don't see 12 to 13 million work for Hassan. That's fair. Yeah, I think when it comes down to Hassan Reddick, and I think there's a lot of excitement with Hassan Reddick because he was a former Cardinal, and it almost kind of feels like Hassan Reddick was one of the guys that got away, right? A first round pick that got away because he did do very, very well in his last year with the Cardinals, and then he just kind of consistently been better, right? When he's been moved off with the Eagles, and he's had a really good career so far. And I feel like there's a lot of Cardinals fans that kind of have that attachment with Hassan Reddick, and they would love to bring him back. But I think at the end of the day, just kind of what Monty has done so far, and I'm not going to rule anything out, right? Just like my guy Tyler Drake said, he's not going to rule anything out as well. But I think here at the end of the day, I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Would we love it? Absolutely. It would be amazing. It would be amazing to bring back Hassan Reddick. And I think a lot more people would be able to breathe better, breathe a sigh of relief that we have a guy to kind of take over the BJ Ojulari spot. But as of right now, it's TBD. But definitely a name to get thrown out there is Hassan Reddick for a potential replacement for our guy, unfortunately, that went down for the rest of the year, BJ Ojulari. Let's take a look here. Let's go with Owen. Owen says Jones will be playing right tackle before the season ends. That's my bet. Wow. Okay, that's a good bet. You're talking about Christian Jones, right? You're talking about the rookie that we ended up getting here. Well, I mean, there's a lot of high praises from Christian Jones. I mean, that would be amazing. Now, granted, we do have Jonah Williams, right, playing the right tackle spot. But if we're talking about a guy for the future, then why the heck not, right? I would love for one of our guys that we drafted, homegrown guy, especially a cheaper guy. But I feel like if this were to happen, Jonah probably would be either have to be really, really bad, or there's an injury, right? And obviously we're not wishing injuries on anybody, but I feel like that would be the only way that we will see Christian Jones. But I would love it, right? Cheaper guy, but we still do have Jonah Williams under contract, so we'll see. Let's keep it with the chat here. We got Owen with another tip. Looks like a freaking tackle in person. Yes, the run game is nice. Yeah, Tip's gonna. That's one thing I should have asked Tyler. I should have asked how Tip Ryman's doing, and I think there's a lot of excitement amongst the media with Tip Ryman. Not so much for the playmaking ability, but for the idea that our run game is gonna just be so much better, right? So much more better. And I think we're all pretty much excited with the thought of maybe he can be that guy being used as a tight end, because he can still catch the ball, right? I mean, he's not Trey McBride, right? Obviously, we know Trey McBride's our playmaker. But I think here at the end of the day, there is excitement for Tip Ryman, and rightfully so, because this guy's a freak of nature. He's a big man, big man. Let's see here. Let's keep it with the chat. See what you guys are saying here. Oh, all right, here we go. What's up, Kenny? Kenny says, I would bring someone in out of free agency, then try to trade during the season. Well, let's address this, right? Because I think this is a big store, or a big talking point that we really didn't, like, we made a video about it, and if you guys didn't check it out, make sure you have your post notification bell on, and make sure you subscribe to the AZ Sports Fan here on YouTube. We're going to be covering the Arizona Cardinals throughout the entirety of the season, and we're going to go extremely hard. Like, it's going to be content out of your ears. So, Yeah, make sure you subscribe it up, especially if you want to obviously join some other Arizona Cardinal fans that are across the United States and join the chat. Please do so. But this is a big topic that a lot of people are talking about, right? I personally would love the Arizona Cardinals to potentially bring in a free agent guy. I know there is the thought of, and shout out to Tyler Drake for also addressing that. He's right. There is going to be a cut down day where the 53-man roster people go down, and there might be some gems out there the Cardinals could potentially bring in for a guy that we can potentially use as a swing for the edge. But man, I'm not going to lie to you, Yannick Ngakoue would be really cool. I feel like that would be exciting for the Arizona Cardinal fans to really kind of get behind. Carl Lawson would also be another guy that the Arizona Cardinals can get behind. I believe they're both 28 or 29. They're almost pushing 30, but I don't think we're talking about the Arizona Cardinals going to do a multi-year deal, right? We're talking about guys that we can get on a 1-year deal, right? A 1-year rental that could potentially give us 3-4 sacks on the season. Now, can Victor Dimukeje, can Dennis Gardick be those guys? Potentially, right? Potentially. I mean, I think that might be the route the Arizona Cardinals are going to go for. But if you look at the depth of the Arizona Cardinals, like, I don't know. I feel like adding a piece, especially a 1-year rental that's not going to be very expensive, I feel like is the way to go. But there's also the trade option, right? There's also the trade option. Can the Arizona Cardinals trade for Hassan Reddick, right? And I see the people in the comments here. Can the Arizona Cardinals trade for Matt Judon, right? I don't know. I mean, everything's on the table. Everything's on the table right now. We heard Jonathan Gannon come out and say that everything's on the table, but he also did emphasize the fact that he does believe that the Cardinals have the people in the locker room right now. And maybe they're just going to have to step up, right? But it's one of those things, like I said a little earlier, we're not going to know till it happens, but we can speculate out of our ears, and it's fun to speculate. It's absolutely fun to speculate. Let's keep it going here. Johnny, what's up, Johnny? Johnny says we should get at least 9 wins. I agree, man. I'm telling you, there's not a lot of, what's the word? There's not a lot of people outside the Bird Gang or outside the Cardinals realm that feel like we can touch this. But I agree with you. I agree. I think this Arizona Cardinal team, if Kyler can stay healthy, I think we are due for a really good season, right? I feel like Kyler Murray's got the eye of the tiger. This man's doing everything he possibly can to get chemistry down with his guys, right? He took in a lot of extra steps. He's done everything in his power to make sure that he's got this chemistry down. And honestly, I'm Team Kyler Murray. I want to see what this man can do. And I think if he can stay healthy, this can be a really, really good season for the Arizona Cardinals. For sure. What's up, Big Bird? He says, I'm sure they plan on drafting a first-round edge rusher in 2020. Yep, 100%. Well, here's the thing, right? Zaven Collins is signed up until 2026, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's 2026, right? You got a 2-year extension for Zaven Collins. Definitely shout out to him for collecting the bag. Definitely kudos to him. But I do think that edge rusher should be a big priority. Absolutely. Edge rusher should be an absolute big priority, so we're not scrounging around, so we're not talking about potentially getting free agents, right? Or so we're not talking about potentially making a trade. I think edge rusher is probably one of the most important things Monty Austin-Fort needs to think right now. Like, this is probably one of the biggest tests for Monty. And I've seen a lot of Cardinal fans out there kind of saying the same notion where, although we believe that nothing's going to happen, right? Although we believe, just because of what we've seen so far with the Arizona Cardinals organization and kind of how they treated what's happening, although we believe nothing's going to happen, we all kind of can agree that it would be cool, right? It would be exciting. It would be definitely something where the Arizona Cardinals, I feel like, should do. The Arizona Cardinals should do something like this because at the end of the day, edge rusher is a big, I don't want to say eyesore, but a big need. I guess that's the best to describe it. Best need for the Arizona Cardinals right now. And I think addressing it is definitely very important. It's the first test to me. It's one of the first tests for Monty Austin-Fort. What is he going to do, right? What is he going to do? He's been very, very passive when it comes down to it. But like I said, you can't really blame him for last year. Didn't have a lot of time to get it, ready. It was going to be a bad year last year. No reason to sink money in. But this year is the first year of being able to see, is this a real test? Like, what's he going to do to address that position? Or is he going to use people in the locker room? We'll see. What's up, Adrian? Adrian says, where did it go? Okay, I know this is off topic, but in terms of success, where do you think the team would have been if this whole new regime were here when K1 was drafted? That's a good question. Honestly, like, this is going into a rabbit hole of shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? But I do think that regime in who you have around you is a big factor of your success, right? And this is one of the main reasons why after our 11-win season with the downfall of the playoffs, I kind of already felt that the Arizona Cardinals weren't going to be any higher than that, right? That was the ceiling for the Arizona Cardinals, and we got absolutely destroyed in the playoffs, right? Like, we didn't belong in the playoffs, whether it was what you thought their offense was, right, of who was on the field, regardless, right? Regardless, I knew that was the ceiling for the Arizona Cardinals after the 11 wins. When we went to the playoffs, it was 11 wins, right? Was it 10 or 11? Well, the season that we went to the playoffs is what I'm talking about, right? That's what I'm talking about. When we went to, I feel like that was already the ceiling. We weren't going to get, and that's why I was willing to sacrifice the year after with the brand new regime. And that's why I was pushing so hard to have that year after Cliff Kingsbury, after that downfall, being the rebuilding or the start of the rebuilding. But now, unfortunately, we had to have two really bad seasons because one of them was the downfall of Cliff Kingsbury, right? In the injury of Kyler Murray. And the other one was the first year of Jonathan Gannon. So it's unfortunate that the circumstances we found ourselves in now, but I mean, it's the decisions that are being made, right? But like I said, it's a rabbit hole to get into, but you never know. Maybe if he did have somebody that's going to be more supportive other than Keim, other than Cliff, maybe he would have had a better career. Maybe, right? All right, let's go over to Mr. Fat Gangster. What's up, brother? He says maybe, but Paris would be protecting Kyler for years to come. So I kind of pick your poison. He might be talking about potentially maybe somebody getting Will Anderson. I was really high on Will Anderson, really high on Will Anderson Jr. In the draft. But, the Cardinals decided to go to Paris Johnson, and right now it doesn't seem like a bad pick. It's a focal point for the left tackle position for years to come, right? It's hard to say that this is the right pick. I don't think you can say that until like 2 or 3 years down the road. But I do think right now that Paris Johnson Jr. is a good pick. I love the fact that we're moving over to the left. He's going to hopefully be the left tackle for the Arizona Cardinals for years to come, right? So it's just one of those things. I feel like I hope we addressed it. I mean, we technically did address it, right? We addressed it early, not this last year, but the year after. We got BJ Ojulari. He just was hurt coming out of college. He got hurt again coming into his second year. But I do think the main focus should be, what are we going to do at edge? Should be a big focus for the Arizona Cardinals. Is what are we going to do at edge? A huge focus should be that. Absolutely. Let's keep it going here. Let's keep it going with the chat. Oh, we got my guy Owen says we could have had a good. See, this is what, insinuating we should have got. I don't think Paris was a bad pick. I think it's a good. It's not a flashy pick, but honestly, the line is very important. It is very important. Let's go with Big Bird. What's Big Bird? What's up, buddy? He says 7-8 wins based on offense alone. If our defense performs better than expected, 9 to 10 wins. I mean, and that's a good season, honestly. Like the NFC is, I don't think is great. I think there's a lot of room for the Arizona Cardinals to potentially be a very good team. Like if you have 9 to 10 wins, that could be a very good season. Like that's borderline playoffs we're talking about, right? And if we can sneak into the playoffs, that would be a huge win for Kyler Murray, right? That would be a huge win for this regime. That would be a huge win for the Arizona Cardinal fan base because of what we had to endure those last 2 years, because just would make sense. Like I feel like that should be enough for the Arizona Cardinals to sneak in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and close up shop here, ladies and gentlemen. I absolutely do appreciate y'all for tuning in. Another huge shout out here to the sponsor of the Arizona Sports Fan here on YouTube. BetUS is doing amazing things, and make sure you definitely check them out. We're going to be hearing about them a lot throughout the entirety of the season. Huge shout out, like I said, BetUS. Right now there is odds for the Arizona Cardinals to potentially win the NFC West, and apparently Vegas/BetUS doesn't feel like the Arizona Cardinals are going to win the NFC West, because right now they are at plus 1,200 when it comes down to potentially winning the NFC West. But if you do want to drop some money on there, you can get yourself a really, really good payout here if the Cardinals do decide, or actually if the Cardinals do win. The link is in the description below if you are going to do something like that. But again, huge shout out here to BetUS, sponsor of the video, and the Arizona Sports Fan YouTube page here for the entirety of the season. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. If you guys missed the first portion of the video or the stream, we do go ahead and chime in with Tyler Drake of Arizona Sports, Arizona Cardinals Insider. So if you guys want to watch this on a playback, please do so. Watch this on a playback. It was a really, really good interview to kind of get a take on how he feels about the 2024 Arizona Cardinals. If you guys haven't already smacked the like button, definitely do that right now. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day, and go Cards.